My name is Alexander Hernandez, and I have been forgiven. Living on the north side of Chicago, it has its ups and downs for me in my life. Going to Calvin Park, going to school, walking back and forth, and even just learning how my brother wanted me to walk in life. My brother wanted me to walk with my head up high and never act like I was. I don't know. I can't. That's a hard one right there. Just to walk in life with my head up high, because knowing how I was in life at that time, it was way different. Because if you walk with your head down, somebody thinks that you're weak, and you never act like you're weak on the north side of Chicago. Because then after that, they're gonna try you. Which I mean by try is they're gonna see. Let me see what I can get out this guy. Let me see how I could try to send him off to do something. And you got to be smarter than that. Calvin Park is a high school where there was all kind of people that went there: white, black, Chinese, Asian, so different type of races. Calvin Park is a school where it's around an area where I went to school at, where there was, we call them back then, it was ops, but it was different gangs that were in that school. And some of them knew what gang I was in, and that's how they started chasing me home after school until I got some real brothers that way. We ain't running no more. We gonna walk. I was an almighty imperial gangster. Yes, that was the only gang that I was in, and that's the one that I grew up with my brothers that to this day, they're still living the street life, and I'm on a whole different other path. 5 to 10 years old, I was living in foster cares, in group homes, but mostly I had a younger brother. His name was Ricky. We went from foster home to foster home around that age. What I know about my regular parents, my mom had me till I was 2, 3 years old. And there was a other family that I was with till I was like 10 or 5, you could say. So they had me, and then my brother came along. And from there, me and my brother, the parents, they died. So the father couldn't take care of us no more, or he couldn't handle us because in that time, me and my brother, we were special needs, and we were too hyper. So he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle both of us. And it was rough because he was trying to take us out of the lifestyle of being in Chicago. So we moved to Rankin. And Rankin, Illinois was a good town. And he had another son, but that other son, he kept traveling back and forth from Rankin, Illinois to Chicago. And we ended up had to move from Rankin because his wife passed away out there, and we had to move back to Chicago. No, we stood with them till I was 5, 6 years old. Me and my brother, we were with these people since we were kids. I'm talking about they had me since I was a baby. The thing about it was my mom had me, but then she had a sister that called DCFS, So they end up taking us. So we were there till like 2 years old, maybe. And then we went to this parent. They put us with another foster parents. Altogether, 10 foster homes and one group home. The longest one I have been in, ooh. Me and my brother, we never stood into foster homes so long because they had rules and they were never always doing what they supposed to have. So once me and my brother, we decided to run away, we just ran away. So we never like literally had a foster home that we stood in more than a year. Like about these foster homes, they don't know how to treat foster kids right. They only want us for the money. Back then, that's how they did it. My worst one I can remember was that I slept in a house, in a room, not even on a mattress, just a blanket. And the lady kept us in a room, and it was very, very cold. Very cold. My brother and the lady second about you don't deserve nothing. Man, you are evil. I don't know why your mom brought you into this world. And that's how we were getting treated. They were always putting us down. Always. I'm like, they just wanted the money because back then, DCFS, they pay a lot of money for special needs kids. I couldn't, we could felt that we were cold, but we didn't know what was right and what was wrong. We just thought so like, this is a life. Me and my brother, Ricky, we didn't know who our mother was, who our father was. We just knew that we had where we were at, and it was just taken away from us. Like, they didn't want us no more. The people that we did know that was we thought it was our mother and father. Well, back then, after we were at 9, and then we met this one foster parents that had two other kids, but they were already grown, and they did well. We thought that they were good. They put us into a Christian school and everything. I'm talking about. I used to go to school dressed up, man, from the shoes all the way to wearing collar shirts and everything. It was a Catholic school. And behind closed doors, they'll send us to school, but at the same time, when we go home, man, we only eat at a certain time, stay in our rooms. We couldn't play. We couldn't do a lot of things because we were living the Christian life, and we had in our minds that, oh, if we're Christians, we can't play. Yes, that's the only thing we had was a Christian school that was teaching us, and they were teaching us about the Bible, but the way Christians do, though. They were not doing the Christian way at all. School was teaching us how you're supposed to live, how you're supposed to act, and it felt like we were always dressed up. We didn't have shoes. All the kind of shoes that we had were dress-up shoes. We stood for 2 years, and then we went. They had a thing every summer. They had somewhere where they go it was a little place where they went where they had a house, and me and my brother, we learned how to fix bikes because it was a closed community, and me and my brother, we learned how to fix their bikes. So the way that the old people paid us, they paid us by letting us ride their bikes, and that's like only in the summertime. That's the only playtime we had. But we couldn't do Papa Willies. So every time they see us doing Papa Willies, man, they would tell on us. What happened was, man, one day they saw us doing Papa Willies, and me and my brother, we saw this pool, and me and my brother, we go off the diving board into the swimming pool with the bike. we got in trouble. They said you're not supposed to do that, and we kept doing it anyway. So the way that they punished us was there was this lady that had a cousin that to punish me and my brother. She's like, "Oh, you just can't have fun here. We're gonna send you back to Chicago." And we were having so much fun out there because that's the only fun time that we get to have. And then one thing leads to another. They sent us to Chicago. So this is where I met my mom at 10 years old. That like, she really say that you could have fun here. Man, you only come in when the lights, man, before the lights come off. She let us play video games. She let us do a lot of stuff that once we told her what her cousin was doing to us, she was like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah. Me and my brother, we ran away from where we were at, and we told the caseworker, like, hey, she's not treating us right. She's having her son come over. He keeps like smacking us around, like oh, you're not treating my mom right and everything like that. So we kept running away from there. So the lady that we went to her house, that she let us, that was her cousin, she let us, we asked the caseworker, hey, is she a foster parent? And she said, yeah, but she already has so many kids because she was transitioning kids back to their parents until they get on their feet. One day, me and my brother, we ran away from the school, and yeah, we ran away from the Christians because we didn't want to go back to the house. So me and my brother, we made up a plan that we were gonna run away from the school. So once we ran away from the school, I say, hey, we're gonna run, and wherever we land up, we land up. So we ran out the Christian school because we didn't go on the bus. Back then, they give us school buses to get home and back. We never went on a school bus. So they end up calling the police, and we were walking down Fullerton one day. We were walking down Fullerton that day, and me and my brother, we just kept walking. We were walking the wrong direction because we were trying to get to Mrs. Cody's house. We were trying to get to her, but we were walking the wrong way. And the police, man, they were trying to catch us. They were trying to catch us for real. And I'm like, nah, we ain't going. I was just like, man, you call our caseworker. So the caseworker, she pulled up on us, man, that same day. And, oh, you got to go back. You got to go back. And I'm like, nah, we ain't going to go back. We're straight. We're not living that life. We're not living there no more. We don't care where else you put us. As long as you put me and my brother together, man, that's all that we have was me and my brother. And all of a sudden, that they called Yolanda, and she said that she'll take us.
Who's Yolanda?
Yolanda Cody, that's my mom, that one that had me since I was 10, and she showed me what a real man, how to be a kid. That I could open up to her, that I could trust her, because I had a lot of trust issues, and it's very hard to trust people with anything because they know how to use it against you. Yeah, I stood there. Well, I stood there till I was like, yeah, to my high school years. She helped me get through high school. She helped me get through a lot of stuff in my life, and she definitely helped me learn how to open up to her because I could trust her. Yes, high school was really rough because I was always like, after I was at Calvin Park, I got kicked out for fighting, and I was like literally fighting for my brother because he was younger, and they got these kids that like to pick up my brother, get him in the washroom. So me being the big brother, I was like, all right, you want to pick on something? Come pick on me. So I was like the violent one. Like they picked up my brother, I'm gonna go harder. So man, they try to catch my brother in the they catch him in the washroom. I come right behind them, hit him with a book, flu flopped them, like, and they didn't know that my youngest brother had a bigger brother. The way I joined the gang was my oldest brother. He said, "This is the life that I live," but at that point in time, my brother was teaching me. He took me on my birthday. That was my birthday gift right there. Get him jumped by four guys in a gangway. Man, my brother, he showed me. He's like, this is your family right here. This is what you're gonna grow up with. For you could have somebody that could have your back. At the time, my brother was teaching me how to live the street life because that's what he did. I did not know my mom had an older son because he was always in and out of jail. So when he came around, I didn't even know who this guy was. He's like, "Oh, my mom told me about you. She wrote to me, tell me who you were, this man," and it just kept going on from there. I'm like, "Yeah." So then my mom tell me all like, "Yeah, this is my oldest son, and you're gonna be seeing him more now that he's home." He would take me to places that I never knew that I could go because my mom said, "Make sure you are home at a certain time with him. Don't teach him nothing that he didn't, he, man, that he wouldn't know, man, that I wouldn't teach him." And this is my big brother, so man, he's like smacking me in the back of the head. I was happy that I had a big brother because then after that I could show my youngest brother because he was not older like me to go do the street stuff that my brother was teaching me. He was teaching me how to steal radios. He was showing me how to steal out of stores. He was teaching me how to interact with some of these guys. How they showed my brother respect because my brother was like he was a shot caller. One thing my brother taught me when somebody owed him money and how he did this dude right here. He invited, man, "Hey, come on, my brother, come over to the man." Back then, where my brother was, they were hanging in the garage. So there was a group of guys that my brother hang with that he trust. And these were the guys that were like, that he showed me. I trust this guy, I trust this guy, and I trust this guy all my life. Yeah, trust was a big thing for my brother. And that's what he showed me. He's like, "You're gonna find yourself a crew that you're gonna trust with, that man, even if you're right or wrong, they're gonna ride with you." He would always get caught for selling drugs or stealing, but not just little stuff. My brother knew how to break into garages. My brother knew how to get into ceilings in regular stores and money wise. So he would do some time. The last time he did some time because he showed me how to burn a cat. He was in the papers for that back then. He was teaching me how to do it for I could teach my little brother how to do it. And that's how it goes down the line. The street life, that was the only laws that I knew how to do. Plus, he was teaching me laws that we go by. And them laws is all that I knew at that time. My street life was, I had a girlfriend, but it was never like she was loyal to me. She was never, man, she was loyal to the money I was making. Because man, I had a girl, man, like the baddest girl of them all that had the biggest booty on the block. You know what I'm saying? I always had her nails done, I always had her hair done, but this is the life that I live. Like, man, I wanted the baddest girl on the block, and she ended up messing with my right hand man. When he did that to me right there, I was like, oh, I couldn't trust him. I said, I couldn't trust you because I trusted him. And he told me while we were smoking a blunt, I gotta tell you something because it was eating him up alive because he knew what type of brother I was. He knew that, man, I know you're a loyal brother, man. I know you've been did some stuff for the neighborhood. Not for the, just for them because I had a group of guys that knew who I was and who knew what my brother was about though too. And their brothers, he knew their brothers. So it was like I'm my brother, so he has friends that have brothers. When he did that to me, man, I was hurt, but I end up bros for four girls, but it's a different way how it goes. So we scrapped it up a little bit, and then he had to learn that trust again. I started off at 19 years old, and then from there, my first case was a gun. They ran a concurrent with the stolen vehicle because I had the gun, then I had the stolen vehicle. My brother had friends that were selling guns, and I bought one from him for like $400. And I can remember to this day it was a 357 Ruger, not the long nose, but the short one. And that was my favorite gun. The life that I was living out here, and I just gotta, man, of where I was living at too, because I wasn't living in my neighborhood. I was living in a other where I was living, where my mom was living at. I was living there, and it was not a good neighborhood for me. It wasn't a good neighborhood because it was in the opposition neighborhood where I was at, where I be at. At that time, I was probably, how old was I? I was probably like 17, 18. No, I was 17 at that time. And I used to work at Jiffy Lubes. And it was, back then I was still living that life, the fast life. I was working and I was drug dealing at the same time. But how I got to get that car, I got to work one day, Jiffy Lube opened up, and I saw this old man, right? He was going to McDonald's to go get a coffee. He left his car on, left his keys in the car and everything. Me in that state of mind still, I went right across the street, got the car, parked it right in Jiffy Lubes, but around there. Got off in the morning, got off, but then after that, but at the time, I'm looking at this dude and I'm laughing because he came outside and the reaction that he had, like, where's my car? Where's my car? That's what he was doing. And at the time, I didn't feel no remorse about none of that. By me talking about it right now, I'm like, man, that's how I had the stolen vehicle. One day I was leaving my house and I had to go put gas in the car. And I'm when putting gas in the car, but I'm seeing the police, they're watching me. I'm like, why are they watching me so much, right? So I go inside, like I'm gonna go pay, and the police, they run up right on the car. And they're trying to see whose car it is. So I'm trying to walk away like it's not mine, but the teller is saying that's his car right there. That's him. That's him. And they end up, oh, this your car? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm trying to pay off like I was gonna go get something to drink at the gas station, and I don't know whose car that is. But then after that, they look at the camera, they see me pull in there, they see me put the gas in there and everything like that. So they had me dead to wrong. I couldn't lie about it no more, but I'm not gonna tell it myself unless you show me like, man, we know it was you that drove this car here. We know where you stole it at. You know you stole it from an old man, but at that old man, he was a veteran. And he says as long as everything's in his car, he said he just wants the car back and everything that was in the suitcase. I still went to jail, but the guy, he went to thing. He said he didn't wanna see a young guy like me, but the way the courts work back then, I did like 4 months, if that, because at that time it was a different laws how they could um, get you. Now I went to county jail. I was there because I still had another case pending, and now it's for the gun. But I knew I was gonna get time for the gun and not the stolen car. Well, they ran a concurrent actually because the judge said, "Oh, we're gonna run this concurrent with you." So that first case right there, but it took a while though because I had that first case. It was in assist. It was still every month case. Man, they want to not retry the case, but they wanted to go ahead and they want to continue it and keep continuing it until I got the stolen vehicle and they ran a concurrent. And then altogether over it, I ended up getting 18 months. That was my first time going to the joint. And I was on to me, I was on Seguro because I was watching my other brothers back while they were in the neighborhood, while they're on the block, in the middle of the block. While you're on S. You're just watching their back while they're getting high, while they're getting drunk, while they're chilling with the girls. I'm doing security for them, and it was my day. So I'm in the middle of while they're in the middle of the block, I'm at the other corner in a gangway and just making sure that back then we had like terps. So man, there's a car coming down the block. And then if that, I just tell them, hey, watch it. They watch it, but I'm the one that's watching, making sure that seeing who's in the car. If I can't see in the car, I'll tell them, hey, back up, man. I can't see the guy. I can't see who's in the car because you had tints, but sometimes you could see that when the window's down, who's in the car. Man, that's how we used to do it back then. There nothing happened. It was just like one day the police, they kind of knew what was going on. They were trying to figure out who was it because the guys were being loud and I'm in the gangway. And then it was kind of crazy because I was in a gangway where I usually am, and the neighbor says, they call me by name. And they said, hey, we don't want you in our gangway no more because we know what you're doing because we got a camera. And we see what you have on you, and we don't like that. And these people, they were Christians. Man, one day the police, it was not the same day, it was a different day. But it was my day again. We're out here. And then all of a sudden, I see the police coming from one way, and I know how to get around my neighborhood. So I know how to jump the fence. I know how to go get around. It took them like at least 15, 20 minutes to try to catch me. They end up catching me. I try to stash the gun behind some more metal objects because it was, man, it was silver, the gun. And they end up catching me under a car. I remember that day like nothing right there. First the police, he passes me. I'm under the car. I'm like, I'm clear. Then he comes back, and then he looks under the car, and he said, don't move. Come from under the car. And then that was it. Went to the county for that for like 3 weeks, but my mom bonded me out, and she's like, "I'm not bonding you out no more because that's your first and last one." My mom gave me one chance. She was like, "Don't call me no more, 'cause I'm not gonna bond you out if you're gonna keep doing the same thing." Man, my first time being arrested, it was it was scary because I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know what was going on because all my guys they saw me going to jail, but none of them said anything. What they did, they're like, "Keep your head up." You know, it's like, "Man, we got you. Just call us if you need any money." Things of like that nature, what they would say, but they never came and saw me. I felt like, man, this is the life right here that, man, I do for my guys right here, and they don't care. They just, man, you're here one day and you're gone the next. All that stuff was going through my mind, and I'm thinking like, man, what's really gonna happen with me? What's really gonna go on? And I'm just thinking in my mind, man, how did I get into this thing? And I was replaying how I had the gun. I was replaying, man, how I ran or what could I did better. How could I not get caught? Because my brother came to my mind. He never said that I wasn't even caught and go to jail. Now I see why he was gone for so long and what he was doing. That's how I was feeling inside. This is how it started off, right? When you first get locked up, you go to Granite Central. They take your fingerprints. They make sure you don't got nothing for you to kill yourself with. They take your belt. They take your shoelaces. They take it all, you know. And then if you gotta wait till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning until the bus comes and gets you. Now they're putting you in this bus, but this paddy wagon. There's just not 4 or 5 guys in there. Imagine you're in a paddy wagon with 20, 30, 40 other guys. You're smelling them. You're like, man, they're standing up. They got your junk all in your face and everything. I'm like, man, for real, this is, oh, no, this ain't cool. Man, move out the way. And then when you get to the county jail, that's where it's really at right there. Even when you're in the holding cells, you gotta wait, but then you still gotta see a judge to see if he's gonna give you a bond. And from there, that's where they put you at to see what you're classed at. And what I mean as classed is like see if you're high risk, low risk, and all the county jails is different than when you go to the joint. But then after you got procedures of when you hit a deck, and that means when you go onto the tier, they're gonna ask you, man, what you ride, who you ride with, and then after you got your man, I'm folks, I'm people, I'm this, I'm that, and that's where it gets real at because they got laws in there of you can't just bunk with anybody. They won't put you with the fin balls. They won't do that. They already know. They already ask you when you get in there. When you get in there, where you're man, who you with, and then they try to put you with your right people. My first day in there, I couldn't sleep because you're hearing the man. They don't sleep in jail. There's always somebody that's screaming. Not screaming, but I'm just talking. There's always somebody that's saying like, "Hey, what we're gonna do tomorrow? What we're gonna cook?" And that's when you get in there and you start having your man. They give you the rules. Man, we work out, we eat. Man, they tell you the feet on the ground and everything because They don't play at that point in time. They didn't play in Cook County Jail. It's like the most thing that they do is right there is when the food comes. I was like, you got your people that they pray for the food in there, and this is the whole deck because you got people that have their own tables. You got folks that have people have their table. Even the Muslims have their table. Even the neutrons have their table. But the one thing that we do agree on in there is, hey, everybody else says grace. Whoever's with whatever however they pray. Well, we all respect each other on that right there. We put in for the medical, right? So this is how this goes right here. You gotta put a request in. If something's wrong, you gotta put it in. But that was a way right there for we could pass kites, which I mean is like a little paper, and it has like, man, this person did this person did that right there. And I can recall one day where I got into a fight. I had to go to medical, right? And somebody, the mob that I used to roll with in Cook County Jail was Latin folks. We don't fight one on one. If one goes, we all go. But the person I was like, I don't want to lose none of my brothers because I was going higher up in Cook County Jail. That, man, I don't want to lose none of my guys because the lesser we are, the other oppositional is gonna try to go ahead and try us even more. So I remember clearly, Division 9 got under the stairs, got into it. I had to go to medical, and how I went to medical, there was a brother that had the whole Cook County, and he asked my name. He's like, "Man, you're such and such." I'm like, "Yeah, what's up? You know who I am?" I was like, "I kind of know who you are." And that's how I got my orders right there. You are not to do that no more. He says, "I see what you did." He's like, "But if you do it, then the other brothers are going to think that they do that. And we need other brothers to have your back." So he see that I was thinking like a leader, but at the same time, it was wrong. Okay, when you first go to prison, that they have you go, they check you in, they do all the making sure that your numbers are what you know and everything like that, and you go see the medical person. But back then, you had the penis doctor, and it's crazy, right? Because back then they had this thing to see if you have syphilis, if you have gonorrhea. They see if you have AIDS. They stick a tube, not a tube, but a stick, and they just in and out. And I'm like, ooh, that it hurt. I don't know. They don't do that now, but back then that's what they did to see if you had anything. Well, what, I can't even remember what prison it was, but I know it was a prison where I had to do my I was doing my time, and I was doing a time for this one because I did 18 months the first time, and they kept transferring me. But the second to the last time I was in I think Vandalia, and I got into it with one of the brothers because he owed me money. He was gambling because I was a gambler, and the way you gamble is football teams, basketball teams, things of that nature wise, and that's what people get in trouble for sometimes is the gambling. He couldn't pay his debt to me. So I didn't go to the right people, and I waited till we went to the chow hall, and I whooped him in front of all the other brothers, which I was wrong because we don't supposed to fight one another. And he owed me money, and I end up whooping him, and I end up getting a whooping on top of a whooping. We can't fight one another. We can't fight one another if you bring it up in the right way. So they got me, took me in the cell, gave me a little bing bang boom on the head real fast. We don't whoop each other for real. We don't do. They don't whoop you in the face or nothing like that. It's only all body shots. For you don't keep doing it. Did I learn my lesson? The first one, they whoop me, but it depends on who got the facility of the organ of the Latin folks. It could be a butt whooping. It could be a workout. It could be something like that. But the first one, because the guy didn't like me because he knew who I was on the street. So he's just like, man, give him 3 minutes. No headshots, only all body shots. And I knew that he was holding that against me right there. So I took it on the chin. That's how we say it. I took it on the chin like nothing. I just laughed at it, but I did learn my lessons, but I did it because whoever else was in charge then, 360s, 720s, 1440s, get a little workout in now. Well, when you get a 360, they want to work you out. That's how I'm supposed to start off as right as a punishment. Work your body out, man, muscles, things of that nature, running, man, how many laps you could do, how many burpees. That's what they did as a punishment because you don't want some of the brothers to have to be mad at you always because he's gonna go first for this. No, you want them to be strong. So that's how I learned when I got up there into that spot wise of how to punish brothers. I was calling the shots. I never wanted to hurt none of my brothers because that's what my brother always taught me. He's like, you want to correct them, but you don't want to correct them. You don't want to correct them while they'll hate you. If anything, you want to make your brother stronger. So the way my brother taught me, he's like, you always start off with the workouts. He's like, first it's the 360s, the 420, 360s, 1440s. It just goes up and up and up. You only get 3 workouts. But then after that, the workouts get more. And after they keep doing it, guess what happens? Now you got to go ahead and do matches. Matches where we have these little matches where we used to get and we used to like man, we call them flushes, where we flush the toilet and the toilet to you just whoop that brother until the toilet stops. So how many flushes you get? We call them matches though. How many flushes? Man, he gets 3 matches. That's 3 flushes. Because you gotta make sure you sometimes you gotta have conversations in front of guards for they can't understand what you're saying. I know when I learned the lingo of the street life and the prison life, it was just a whole different ballgame for me. Them are the type of laws that I knew going all the way up to I was 20, 22, 23. When I came home from the Fed joint, that, there was one brother. His name was Augustine. And he knew me through the Fed joints because we went through the same joints. But the thing about it was, though, he was in a different organization. He was in a different gang than me. But he saw like I was different than my other brothers. And when you make it to the Fed joint, that's a whole different ball game right there. I mean, literally from me going from to the joint wise to the Fed joint. That's a whole different ball game. They check paperwork there. And the way I earned his trust and the way he earned my trust, I showed him my paperwork, he showed me his. How I met God was in a jail cell. And what God showed me, he was there. And I didn't even know he was there because I had this little radio that we have in there. And I was locked up on top of locked up. That means I'm locked up, but I was in the shoe. And I was there. And guess what happened? I had this little radio. And that's what changed my mind of how to live for God and how he showed me that I'm here with you right now. With the radio station that came up, because you know how you surf, you're trying to find good radio station. This radio station was K-Love. And I will never forget that I was in the cell and I'm banging on the door, on the wall for I can talk to my neighbor. I'm like, hey, man, what radio stations you getting here? He's like, man, that's the best cell you got right there. That's what he was telling me, right? And this guy, he was a Native American. Best selling, man, next door neighbor I had for 6 months, 7 months, and he was, so I got the best radio stations in there, and the only radio station I could get was K-Love. I'm surfing, and the only one that was coming up was K-Love. And I'm like, man, what's this K-Love stuff, bro? Man, it was a Christian station. And it would play music that was like, what? I'm hearing testimonies, how God is with them, God saved them, God brought me from this. And I was like, wow. I'm like, so I'm thinking, man, God, how can you help me get out of this situation I'm in? So now I'm this is what God wanted all this time. He just wanted me to talk to him. I was running from a conversation that all he wanted me to have was him. I had multiple conversations with God. Multiple, and the conversation kept coming up. I'm like, Jesus, I kept asking him, how did you give me this lifestyle that I didn't want? Why did you bring me into this world? I was just breaking down to God from all the way from foster care, all the way from me not having a family that wanted me. It just kept going on and on and on. I had questions. I just had questions. I kept asking questions after questions after questions. And then he's like, but son, I've been with you here, all that you were going through, I was there with you. That's how I was like, you were there with me. I can't tell. So is that what you're about? Making me go through storms, going through all this right here? Is that what I got supposed to do? And then that's when he took it to, that's when I understood about what he was trying to show me. Where's your faith at? I'm like, faith? What are you talking about, faith? I just gave you this whole stuff. He's like, but I've been here for all this time and you never came to me. I always wanted to hear from you. God was always knocking on my door and I was never hearing him. Never. because our God is a God that just knocks. He don't bang. He don't, man, boom all hard. Our God is just a God that just says, like, when you're ready, I'm here. And from there, he was just helping me try not to lose my mind while I was in the hole. He was helping me listen to these songs. He was helping me just like, he knew I love music. God knew how much I love music so much that I know, man, Toby Mac. That man got some good songs that I know that to this day I listen to him. When I'm walking down a road, I feel like when I was walking down a road by myself, God was there. He was showing me, he's like, you got a choice. You can keep going down the same road, or man, let me help you. Let me guide you. And then from there, it was all like, I made it. But don't get me wrong, I was not a perfect Christian, though. I was always, we call it backsliding. I knew who God was because I was just a baby Christian when I was locked up, because I didn't have nobody guiding me. Just like you listen to a radio station, okay, that's people that I don't even know. But God had a plan. God always has a plan. I didn't have nowhere to go at, so I took the longest, more possible that I could, and that's almost a year in there. And that whole year that I was there with him, he knew, he didn't know, but I was telling him what I was going through and what I was hearing, and God sends somebody like him that lived the same lifestyle as me. He was showing me, he's like, this is what God wants. This is why God brought you here. It's not no coincidence. He was telling me, he was just saying straight up, he's like, giving it to me in the raw. I'm talking about, because that's what we all need sometimes, just somebody to tell you in the raw and not telling you what you want to hear, but telling you the truth. And this is what he did this is what he was showing me, like, Alex, I know. He's like, Alex, God knows. He been knew what you were going through. He knew what you were facing. He knew what fire that you were in. And I was like, wow. And it was just amazing. It was just amazing how God used him to help me, introduce me to a church, showing me like, hey, I know who you are. God knows who you are, but I'm going to still break bread with you because this is how God does things. So every time his wife would bring him food, she would bring extra food. She would ask how I'm doing. His kids know me now. I'm talking about, I grew that he's my best friend. He knew that me and him were going to have a relationship, and I could go to him about anything and everything. And I could trust him. Just like I could trust God more. And I tell him, I trust God and I'm more than I trust you. He's like, that's the way I want it. Now that I found Christ, man, the last thing that God told me to do for him, which I still hear from God, but I always keep my word. God told me to be his hands and feet and to spread his word. So what I do now is I go to Cook County Jail. You're looking at a convicted felon, somebody that has 44 cases. God opened the door for I could go back into Cook County Jail, for I could hit these streets. There's called a ministry. It's for women, Rosa Sharon. But guess what? Well, you say I'm armor bearing, but I'm trying to catch that dude out there. I'm trying to catch that one like God did. He left the 100 to get that one. So all I do is go spread his word to the brothers in the Cook County jail. When somebody's passing by on the street, I'm not afraid to spread God's word, and I'm definitely not gonna hold it in because that's what God wants us to do. I'm not gonna force God on nobody. All I can just tell them is God loves you. God hears you, and all God wants is a relationship with you. Like I'm talking to you right now. That's how you can talk to God. I found a church. Yes, my brother introduced me to a church. Right, I've been going to New Life Covenant Church. Huh? Yes, Augustine. He introduced me to a church. I've been going there for. It's been 11 years already. I started from the ground up in there. God knows your heart. He knows what you're facing. He knows your battles. So I've been going there. I've been through my ups and downs. I've been through, and there's some brothers, there's even some pastors that know who I am. I have a good relationship with them. I have pastors that are that I could call when I need help. Man, and it showed me a good way of there's good people. God knows who I need in my life to develop me, and not just I'm just here. He knows that what type of guy I am. He knows the stuff I still struggle with, but I leave it all up to God. I leave it up to, and I can't believe in man because God says in the Bible, don't believe in man because they always fail. It's scripture. This is how I live my life. This is how every Sunday, man, when I go to Bible studies on Saturdays, I learn scripture. I live it in my life. I put it in my life now that God got a plan. I'm just here, just try to be his hands and feet, and this is what my church teaches me. I could just say me, I can't say the next person. I could say that what's in the dark comes to the light. You can't hide nothing from God because God's always gonna forgive. He doesn't remember what you did in the past. God doesn't remember none of that. It's in scripture where he says, I know where your heart's at. I know what you could do in life, what you did for me. Because I don't take none of the glory for none of this. I don't take the glory for going into county jail. I don't take the glory for going out there on the streets where I used to come from. God will take me from somewhere, make me stronger, for I could go back and help the next man, my next generation, for they could see, like, man, my legacy, it's not even a legacy. It's just he believed in God. He knew what God could do. My faith was that strong that I could teach the next person. Even my kids. I pray for them daily. So this is what my church does for me. It makes me stronger mentally in my mind than anything that you could think of. My name is Alexander Hernandez, and I have been forgiven.